Welcome back to Next Week with Jeff Durbin. I'm Jeff Durbin, and let's talk about the news. You guys ready? Good. Fantastic. Hey, Bruce Jenner was rebuked by a transgender woman at an LGBT event that was supporting Trump, for supporting Trump. So I can actually see where the unity comes into play, though. Bruce identifies as a beautiful woman, and Donald Trump identifies as a dignified president. He does. He actually does, guys. North Korea, again. They just shot a missile that flew over Japan. A serious business, guys. The last time they did this was in 2009. This is just North Korea's way of staying in your Facebook time hop. It's their way back in. After everyone paid to stream the Mayweather-McGregor fight. Anybody watch that? No, you didn't if you had the UFC app. I got it, and it didn't work. It crashed right before the fight. That's right, thousands of people sitting there and absolutely nothing. Very disheartening. Most people actually blame the UFC website for not working, but we all know that housewives came together and finally got their husbands to do the dishes. A Catholic school in California removed statues of Jesus and Mary to be more inclusive, they say, which makes social justice warriors more successful at removing idolatry from the Catholic Church than the entire Reformation. Great job, SJWs. UPS announced they are sponsoring Taylor Swift's new album. Did you guys hear it? Yeah. Shame on you. And they are going to do it by plastering Taylor's picture on their UPS trucks, the brown trucks. In related news, everyone's moving over to FedEx. We had to, Taylor. Look what you made me do. And finally, Joel Osteen's church in Texas, they say they're opening up as a shelter from the storm. Now Osteen can genuinely say that people got saved in his church. We'll be right back right here on Next Week. Don't forget to like and share the episode. We'll see you on the other side, guys. Thank you.
Hey, Joy.
Oh, what's up? Sorry, I couldn't hear you over the sound of tying my apron.
I was just thinking we should talk about our new podcast, Socialism.
Okay, I'm ready. Theologians is our new podcast where we talk about theology.
Yeah, we wanted to make a micro podcast to help people think through the Christian worldview.
The reason we wanted it to be a quick podcast is so that it would be accessible for women who are busy doing other important things, like knitting.
Yeah, you can hear Theologians every Friday morning by subscribing on iTunes.
Or you can go to our website, theologians.com, where you can learn to actively fight the powers of feminism.
And bad theology.
All while folding your laundry.
Can I have a cupcake now?
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. It's that time of day again, guys, for the Blend of the Week. Today's Blend of the Week is called A Cup of Joe Arpaio. It's when you drink coffee the same way President Trump pardons. You do it with bad timing and the wrong people, apparently. So, let's do this. You guys ready? All right. Today's main subject is God's commandment, thou shalt not steal. It's a good one. Not only is it one of the 10 commandments, but it's also a fantastic way to keep Walmart greeters from turning on you. Let's start with Venezuela, guys. The country's economy is so bad, they're desperate for food.
Venezuela's worsening food shortages had tragic consequences for a rare show horse last weekend. A group of hungry intruders broke into the zoo, pulled the black stallion from its cage, then slaughtered it for meat.
People broke into the zoo and stole a rare show horse. Now, first off, what zoo carries a horse? I mean, the horse probably went with the burglars because he thought, I don't know why I'm here either. I don't really know. Okay. I mean, this doesn't even sound like a good zoo, first of all. It sounds like one of those small town zoos where they just looked around for any animal that they can put in there, right? Like, welcome to the zoo, guys. We have many exciting breeds, including these pet dogs and pet cats and this homeless guy over here dressed like a lion. He seems to be hiding from the police. But look, this is crazy. I mean, the idea that a zoo animal would be killed unjustly would never happen in America. Never. Not ever. Oh, yeah. You know when someone says, I'm so hungry I could eat a horse? Well, someone finally followed through with that, right? I mean, it makes sense. I mean, I know people give horses weird names, but they shouldn't have named this one in case of economic failure. Don't worry, not every animal at the zoo got eaten, especially not this guy. Because who would want to eat something that looks like an out-of-work lawyer? It's alarming that a country would be so financially bad it would cause people to steal. But actually, it does make sense, considering the fact that the whole government is actually based on stealing. That's right, Bernie Sanders fans, Venezuela is socialist. Now, before you hear me talk about how socialist governments are flawed and ugly, let's ask someone else what they think of it.
Politics is ugly. There is a level of effort to try to destroy candidates personally, etc., etc.
Now, he's actually not talking about socialism, although I wish he were. He's talking about Trump and Russia. Now, why is Bernie so concerned with Trump's ties to Russia when everything Bernie believes is actually historically tied to Russia? And this is what he had to say in an interview with The View.
I want to personally thank millions of Americans who stood up and fought back and said that, no, we're not going to throw 22 million people in this country off of health insurance, cut Medicaid by $800 billion, defund Planned Parenthood, make it almost impossible for people with pre-existing conditions to get affordable health care. And the American people say, we're not going to do that and give tax breaks to billionaires and large corporations. It appears that we have won that struggle right now.
But is it? Yeah.
But let me say this.
Okay.
We have got to ask ourselves why we are the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people as a right, not a privilege. That's the next step.
Right.
That's where we've got to go.
First off, we do need to defund Planned Parenthood. Actually, end it. End the entire abortion industry and criminalize abortion. That's what we need to do. Don't think I didn't see you sneak that in there, Bernie. Just because you have big prescription glasses doesn't mean everybody else doesn't see what you're doing. And secondly, he's comparing us to countries where everyone has health care. I mean, this is what that actually looks like.
Even tribal villagers from the Amazon River region and the Orinoco Delta, right here, you're looking at them. They marched over 1,000 miles, 1,200 miles, to the capital city of Caracas to join in the protest. That is stunning footage right there.
Even tribal villagers? Why does she sound so surprised? I mean, they're part of the country too, right? I mean, what does she think? The only relation they've had with the outside world was when Tim Allen came to their village to film Jungle to Jungle? I mean, think about how bad the state of that country is when villagers who already don't have running water and provisions are saying, all right, enough of this. I mean, that would be like if the Amish from Pennsylvania rode out here on their horses to warn you about the Postal Service. I mean, you'd have to listen to them. So, actually, the question is, what is socialism? And here, this is fantastic, are some Bernie Sanders fans on that answer during last year's campaign trail.
Can you define socialism?
Socialism?
Can you define socialism?
Can I define socialism? Probably not, if I'm being totally honest.
Socialism, oh boy.
I mean, they couldn't even answer, and people are so gung-ho on socialism, but they don't even understand what it is. Socialism is when you equalize every social class so that each person gets an equal share. And let me put it this way, socialism is like when you buy yourself a steak. and 100 other people come in and demand a bite of it. It's like a terrible date night out at Outback Steakhouse. You're just trying to enjoy your food, and Bernie keeps poking at your steak with a fork, trying to give it to another table. The steak is good. Give it to this guy. Make it fair. Okay. It's stealing. It's my steak, Bernie. Keep your hands off of it. People say it's not because it's a large group and agreement to take one another's property, but it is. It's taking money and property through coercion. But we see families do that at funerals all the time. And it never works because everybody wants that grandfather clock. All of them. And this mentality comes in because people think, what about me? What about me? I mean, your stuff should belong to me too. And actually, Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 14 says that all things belong to God. But you're still not going to tithe, right, socialist? Let me get this straight. You won't give God 10% of your income, but you will totally welcome income from other people so that you can have free medical till the age of 26 and free college. Free college. God isn't even asking you to pay for his college. He just wants your obedience. Trust me, he doesn't even want to go to Yale. Trust me. Yale rhymes with jail, and they probably wouldn't even acknowledge him in the class. Socialism, like stealing, creates selfishness. And Jesus said the second most important commandment is to love your neighbor as you love yourself. But this forces you to love your neighbor in a way that doesn't come from you. It creates fake love. That's what socialism does. It's like, thank you. It's like when Kanye West forces us to love him. If you said, hey man, look, I don't like your music, I'm just not into it, he'd say, yes you do. With a form of government like this, it actually makes you think, what about me? I mean, when you were a kid and someone gave you ice cream, your mom would make you say, thank you. Now you say, that's not enough ice cream. More. And also, it better be Neapolitan. Make sure that all those flavors are represented equally. You see, a lot of people don't know this, but the Pilgrims actually tried socialism just for a minute. They called it the Common Course, and they had everybody farm on land that wasn't theirs. But it caused a what about me mentality, and nobody worked hard until they gave everybody their own land and let them earn what they worked for. All they did was change to the biblical view that says in 2 Thessalonians, if you don't work, you don't eat. Crowds in Venezuela are getting the brunt of what a socialist economy and country looks like. They have to wait in line for 12 hours to get their rations. Inflation has skyrocketed, and crime has raised them to one of the most dangerous cities in the world. And most people don't even have toilet paper. That's right, no toilet paper. How are they going to dress their kid up as a mummy for trick-or-treating? I mean, look, in a socialist economy, they're being forced to eat zoo animals, guys. Zoo animals. And meanwhile, in a capitalist society, Whole Foods just lowered their prices by 43%. Venezuelans are eating their pets, and Americans were just given a great deal on kettle chips, craft beer, and 103 kinds of organic ice cream. Which, by the way, there's a Bernie Sanders ice cream, all thanks to the great capitalist people of Ben & Jerry's. It's called Bernie's Yearnings. He wants you to literally buy into yearning. Look, Bernie, we actually call that coveting in God's law. Even with all the clear evidence, the younger generation in our country doesn't seem to care. They want the same as people that work harder than them. Ami Horowitz on YouTube asked millennials if they would still prefer equal income. Like Venezuela, regardless of the state of the country. This is what they said.
Even though they've got all the food lines and stuff, that's still, it's more important that their income equal, correct?
Yes.
With you? Okay.
And I think they do a very good job.
Should we model ourselves more like a Venezuela to become more income equal?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, economically, it would be nice because it would be even for all.
I do think that we should model after, and I do think that we should look at what they're doing.
I feel like that would be a better plan.
Than what we have today in America.
Yeah.
I mean, you could see it in their eyes that they haven't even thought their answer through. That last girl said, yeah, way too many times. That's probably the same, yeah. that got her the strange tattoo on the inside of her elbow. I mean, the bottom line is this. It's theft. It's stealing. And it's no laughing matter. And speaking of not laughing, Amy Schumer. She's been accused of stealing dozens of jokes. And now she's stealing the idea that she gets treated unfairly as a woman, guys. And this week it was revealed that she asked Netflix for more money on her $11 million comedy special after she found out that Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle made more than her. She claimed it was inequality towards women. She said that. Listen, look guys, if I made $11 million for telling jokes about my lady bits, I wouldn't be complaining about being a woman. If I were her, I would take that $11 million and buy some better jokes. Nevertheless, we brought in a feminist to help us make sense of all this. So please welcome our feminist correspondent, Margaret Hanger, everybody. Hey, Margaret, welcome.
Jeff, you can sit down. We're all equals.
Oh, we are. Yes, we are. All equal. Yes, good. So, well, thanks for accepting the invitation to come on the show.
Oh, I wouldn't say I accepted it. It was totally my choice to be here.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah,
all right, good. So what's your take on Amy Schumer's claim that this has become about women's wage inequality? What do you think about that?
Well, obviously, she's not wrong. She's completely in the right. So there were two men, and they made $20 million, and she only made $11 million. So she should at least be making the same as them.
Well, I mean, but didn't she acknowledge that she isn't equalizing her talent to those other comics? Isn't that kind of the main point?
Well, but equal pay isn't about equality.
Okay, now I'm really confused. I mean, isn't the whole point about the wage gap is that you get paid less money?
Well, yeah, but that's what makes Amy so brave, because she asked for more money.
Okay, what? Now this is interesting, guys. What do you mean, brave?
Well, she's brave. So, I mean, think about this. You know, who gave birth to those comedians? The answer is women. They embraced pain and scars to have them. Women are the reason that Chris Rock can even get on stage. Women are the reason that Dave Chappelle can joke about the times he met O.J. Simpson. Okay. Women, Jeff, are the reason that O.J. Simpson can be in a joke. I mean, well, just that one blonde woman. But anyway, I would say, and this is obvious, women have been around longer than comedians.
Okay, right. Yeah. But Amy admitted that there are reasons someone should get paid less than someone else.
Okay, if you could stop mansplaining, that would be great.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I mean, what you're doing is obviously what the patriarchy does.
Oh, is it now?
Yes.
Okay.
You are systematically, and I mean, as a part of the patriarchy, systematically devaluing women with your male, white, cis male rhetoric.
Okay, right, okay. Okay, but I'm not devaluing women, all right?
Then why aren't you supporting Amy's choice?
Okay, but look, I'm not against Amy because she's a woman. I mean, I'm against it because it's a form of stealing. I mean, she negotiated a contract, and then she went back for more when she didn't even earn it. That's not exactly fair, right? I mean, what about equality?
Okay. You guys want to talk about fairness. First of all, Amy had to walk into a building built by a man.
Yeah.
She was probably catcalled. And think about it, who owns Netflix? White men. And then you're going to sit here and accuse all women of stealing?
Okay, look, I know it's obvious that you're actually twisting my words around.
You know who else got twisted around? Helen Hunt in the 1996 movie Twister, because she got paid way less than Bill Paxton, or literally probably the gust of wind.
That's not even, that can't even be true. You just totally made that up.
Well, I mean, I didn't look it up, but obviously it's the case.
All right, okay. So to shift gears here, okay, I'm not accusing women of stealing, but Amy Schumer has been accused of joke stealing even by other female comics.
It's ridiculous. I have such a problem with that. Can you imagine any woman that speaks poorly of another woman? It's absurd. It's ridiculous. We're a sisterhood. We need to support each other. Amy is a beautiful woman. Did you all see her Instagram post? Who wanted more money, so she got it. That is the new norm. Welcome to 2017. And when you are marginalized and oppressed like us, Jeff, things have to change.
Wait, us?
Well, not you and I. I mean, as we established, you're part of the patriarchy.
Yeah.
But if you are marginalized like women, then society should change so that, you know, we can get like what we want. And it is about time. it's about time that women like Amy stand up for equality. Amy is literally one of the bravest women that I know.
Hold on now. Okay, with respect, you actually think she's brave for this?
Well, yeah, she totally does the hard stuff. I mean, look, first of all, her special failed. And she went and renegotiated it anyway, even though she'd already agreed to it. She had to stand up to men like you, by the way, to renegotiate a contract for something that bombed. Just like, her movie with Bill Hader, it was like a total train wreck.
Right.
So her show was so bad, Netflix had to change their rating system.
Okay, and you're saying, you're actually arguing here on this show that that's a good thing.
Well, yeah, she's a total, she's a hard worker. You would never see her doing all the easy woman stuff, like staying at home and raising kids and all those kinds of things. And speaking of that, if you could dismiss me, I need to go get my kids from daycare.
Okay. All right, guys. Barbara Sanger. Very, very good. That's our feminist correspondent, Margaret Hanger. Sorry. Now, guys, look, to sum all of this up, socialism is not some grandiose utopian society. It's just not. There's never been a utopian socialist society because it's based on a foundation of greed and theft. That's right. Now, Venezuela, socialist. World War II, socialist. Barney and Friends. It's PBS, so technically, socialist. Now, except they're toys. Those are capitalist. Socialism is theft, plain and simple. But the Bible has a better answer. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. I don't rob you. You don't rob me. We're a happy capitalist family. We'll be right back right here, guys, on Next Week with our guest. Don't go away. Stay with us. Like and share the episode. Thank you, guys. Next week, guys. Excited about our next guest. Our next guest is hated by socialists everywhere. His name is Jason Stapleton, and he runs a Jason Stapleton program. Welcome to the show, everyone. Jason Stapleton. What's up, Jason?
Hello. Not much, man. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Welcome. So, Jason, just to introduce you to the audience, tell us about your work. What do you do?
I do a lot of different things. I run a show called the Jason Stapleton Program that talks about economics and politics. I have a business that teaches people how to make money in trading and investing, and I also have a coaching program that teaches people how to start businesses. So I do a lot of different things.
Excellent. So Jason, talk about specifically the sorts of things that you promote. What do you propagate on your show? What's the main theme for you in terms of government, society? What should people know about your work? What's important to you?
Yeah, I believe really heavily in the principles of liberty that say that we ought to have the least amount of intrusion into our lives as possible. And I kind of break it down into 5 basic principles, which are limited government, individualism, peace, tolerance, and free markets. And I think that if we have more of every one of those things, that it will produce more wealth and more opportunity for more people than anything else on earth. And so I promote those ideas. And what we do is we take current news events that are happening and we talk about them in relationship to how we can apply those 5 principles to our daily lives, which typically means, hey, giving people more access to start businesses, getting the government out of your way, reducing taxes, those kinds of things.
So, Jason, here's the problem, though. If those 5 principles are employed, who will build the roads?
Right. Well, it's kind of funny. My buddy Jeff Carroll, who does a lot of development, he's been a friend of mine and a friend of the show's for a long time. He actually does this, and he did a great video the other day that talked about a new low-income development that he was creating, and very nice, brand new 3-bedroom homes that are going to be priced $200 to $300 under market, so that people who have low income can go ahead and purchase a home or rent a home in those areas. And he was talking about the development and showing pictures of it, and he said, well, we build the roads. He's like, I build the roads to and from my developments. He said, I pay for that. I pay for all the plumbing, and I pay for all the sewer, and then I attach myself to the government's line. He says it's really developers who build the roads, not individuals. And so my answer to that is always, I don't know who would build them. I just know that they would probably be done faster and cheaper by somebody else.
That's true. So I'll ask you, Jason, I think what you talk about is very, very important. I mean, it reminds me of historic Christian societies, even America early on, in terms of the size of government, the scope of government, individual responsibility, integrity, you shall not steal, those sorts of principles are there. And so it's important. And I'm going to ask you a question I ask people often who believe like we do about these things, Jason, and that is, why does socialism suck?
Well, I think you hit on a key point, is that whether you agree with the idea, well, one of the things as Christians, we believe in charity. And so I have to separate very closely what I believe as an individual and what I think is my responsibility and what I think is the responsibility of others. And so, for example, God requires us to be charitable. It's a demand he places on us, 10% of our wealth. And we're expected as Christians to do those things for others. And I see it as a responsibility of mine to care for others. And if I'm able to be successful in my life to help those who have been less fortunate. And I do that with a great deal of pride and a love and a passion for doing that. I enjoy charitable giving because I understand not only the benefit that it has, but also what I receive in return, not just in return financially, but also just in terms of emotionally, what I receive from giving. And so I think it's a responsibility that we have as individuals. But I also understand that I don't have control over your money, that I didn't earn your money, that I don't have any claim to it, and therefore for me to go to you and say, you are responsible for being charitable, and if you don't, then I'm going to show up at your house under the barrel of a gun or the threat of imprisonment, and I'm going to take what I think you owe, right, and I'm going to see that money is used appropriately. That's not right. And what we find is that in societies that operate that way, you see higher levels of poverty, higher levels of despair, less opportunity, all of the things that the complete opposite of what you get when societies are free. So at the end, that's why it sucks, is because it's worse for everybody.
Right. So our show today, Jason, we're talking a lot about socialism, and I think one of the most important things foundationally to talk about when we talk about socialism versus capitalism, limited government, larger government, just government responsibility, the scope of their responsibility, what they should be allowed to do. For us, it really is the principle of you shall not steal. I mean, that for us is the focus and the foundation. Jason, I love what you talk about. I love what you do. I think that your show is just really incredible. It's a blessing. One of the charges made against people who are libertarian often is that there's no real objective standard, nothing transcendental outside of the claims, government should be small, and here's why, practically speaking. We talk about the benefits. But how would you respond to that? Because you're a believer, and so when someone says to you as a libertarian, yeah, but what about the objective basis for morality? How do you respond to that as someone who believes in these amazing principles that I think come from Scripture? But how would you respond to somebody that really challenges you on there are no real transcendentals in libertarianism? It's sort of like these great principles, but there's no firm commitment to morality in terms of where do we stand?
It's funny because I've been accused every time I talk about morality as not having a legitimate argument by some libertarians, because I talk a lot about morality in the discussions that I have. And one of the things that we find is that morality, if you want to look at it, and the way I explain it to people is morality is really about property rights. You ask yourself what are things that are immoral under our Christian doctrine? Well, murder would be, and rape would be, and theft would be. Right. These are all things that we as Christians consider immoral. They also happen to be property rights based issues. You own your body, and therefore, if someone takes your life, they're committing a property crime against you. The same thing if if in a form of rape or theft, they're stealing or abusing what doesn't belong to them. And so what I say to them is that morality is really can be reduced to a set of ideas about property. And I even have talked with Christians about this and explained the concept to them is that it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be a spiritual thing. It can be if you want it to be, but it can be reduced to a very objective look at these are things that are immoral and these are things that are wrong, and these are things that we just think, hey, if you do them, probably not the best thing for you. Like, for example, heroin use. Heroin use, not immoral, especially if you're doing it to your own body, but definitely not what you would want to be doing if you had the option or the choice. And so I that's the way I try and explain it to people.
Yeah. Now, it's really interesting, Jason, when we look in history, and I know you're aware of this, you see the Christian worldview, the biblical worldview, sort of infused into culture and society and in Western civilization anyways. And so you have these amazing blessings that you and I refer back to often, and the things that we hang on to so desperately today in terms of the Constitution, the rights against warrantless search and seizure, freedom of speech. I mean, these are things given to us ultimately not out of secularism. Atheism doesn't produce societies like that, but it's from the Christian worldview. And so I think one of the things that challenges me, Jason, is I love what you say, and we say a lot of the same things, but my concern, and I'd love to hear what you have to say about this, is we have a public today, people who have been raised in a secular humanist society, raised in the public education system, that have been indoctrinated by the government in terms of how they should think about other people's property, morality, those sorts of things. I mean, our kids are being taught today that they're the products of an evolutionary process that didn't have them in mind. Their ancestors were bacteria. There's no right or wrong, no foundational objective truth. So how would you say people ought to be thinking about this because of the indoctrination that takes place in our educational institutions by the government? I mean, from my perspective, I think it's really a gospel issue. Its hearts need to change. People need to hate, Jason, I think, to steal from their neighbor. They need to hate that. So how would you say we need to address that?
No, I agree, and I think one of the best things you can do is that you can get your kids out of public school if at all possible.
That's right.
Because you're absolutely right. Yeah, you put your kids into an environment where they can be indoctrinated 8 hours a day. The truth is that the state has your kids more often than you do, or longer than you do, and they've got them in a confined space where they can teach them literally anything that they want. And so whether it's homeschooling or private schooling or whatever you can do to get your kids out of that and get them into an environment. My children go to a Christian school. I'm blessed enough to have the resources to do that. But if we didn't, my wife and I had already decided that we would be homeschooling them, even though neither one of us think that we'd be very good at it. So I just think that that's just so important that what goes into your kids' minds, what you teach them, especially at a young age, carries forward with them. And you can see that with the current generation of kids who are coming out of school who are really ill prepared to face the world because of the way they've been indoctrinated and the way they've been taught in school.
Excellent. Very, very good. Jason Stapleton, everybody. Jason, I want to encourage you, man. You're doing great work. Thank you for joining us on the show today.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys. We'll be right back right here on Next Week with Jeff Durbin, guys. Stay with us for one more moment. Like and share the episode. Be right back.
Enjoying the show? You can also enjoy Apologia All Access. For only $9.99 a month, you're able to get into shows, after shows, Apologia Academy, all sorts of amazing, great stuff. And you're going to want to log on. Like I said, it's only $9.99 a month. It's the same price as a cup of coffee. Wait, am I reading that right? A cup of coffee? There's no way that script is right. What? Who buys coffee for $9.99? Who's buying a $10 cup of coffee? This cup of coffee I stole from a man. There's a way that you can get around life without $10 for a cup of coffee. That doesn't make any... If you are spending $10 for your cup of coffee, you are spending the wrong amount of money in your life. Your whole life is disarray. You need to rethink your entire life. Trust me. Take that $10, like how much foam did you get on that cup of coffee? Take that $10, go use it just once for this month and get Apologia All Access. Then learn to buy a $5 cup of coffee. I think we're growing here. Apologia All Access right now. Sign up. Buy coffee a little better.
guys. Thank you. Thank you to our audience live in the studio, and thank you to all of you guys that are liking and sharing the content. Welcome back to the show. One of our biggest purposes on Next Week with Jeff Durbin is to expose Planned Parenthood. Our goal is to end abortion in the United States, to criminalize abortion, and to save lives and bring the gospel into this entire concept. So, we thought we'd start by picking them apart, just like they do to babies. Okay, look, we just did that. Thank you guys, good night! No, not really, just kidding. I wanted to prove how easy it is to rip them apart, just like they do to babies. Tonight, I wanted to point out their slogan, which is, not sure if you heard it, care no matter what. Now, only one part of that is non-threatening, and that's a lie, care. Who thought no matter what was actually a great slogan for Planned Parenthood? I mean, I'm pretty sure that's North Korea's slogan, scare no matter what. No other company in the U.S. can use that end part as part of their slogan. It just sounds too forceful, right? Example, Nike, just do it, no matter what. Companies that also couldn't use that in their slogan are BP, oil spills, no matter what. McDonald's, you'll still eat it, no matter what. And finally, UFC, we'll still take your money no matter what. That was the show, guys. I wanted to introduce you all to somebody. This is really inspirational and it's powerful. We got a message in the ministry directly related to endabortionnow.com and the work that we do bringing the gospel to the abortion mills, loving and caring for mothers and fathers that are going in. And I wanted to read it to you tonight on the show. It says, "Hi, Jeff and everyone at Apologia Studios. Thank you so much for your ministry. I've had 2 abortions with my girlfriend and at one point a 3rd one on the way. Your video came across my YouTube. 18 months later, I now have a beautiful young girl named Peyton." This is why we do what we do, guys. We also got word today. We had another save in Pennsylvania and in Kentucky. So you can be a part of it too. All you have to do is go to endabortionnow.com, get connected with your church. You get free training, free resources, and you can join with us across the country as we bring the gospel to the abortion mills. We love these mothers and fathers and babies. We save lives, and we end abortion in our nation once and for all, guys. Partner with us. Thank you for joining us. We will catch you next week right here on Next Week with Jeff Durbin. Thank you.